Welcome in, guys, to the Advisor Odyssey podcast. Today's episode, we're going to talk about the one document that every new client must be given. This episode's coming at you in January, so it's a great opportunity to start implementing it for the rest of the year. Stay tuned, guys.
This is the Advisor Odyssey audio experience, where financial advisors, planners, insurance agents, and brokers will find fresh new ideas and perspectives around what it takes to launch, succeed, scale, and bulletproof their business.
One document to rule them all. What is the one document that every new client must be given, you ask? Well, this is kind of a loaded question, so let's break this down. A lot of advisors that I work with, they do this in some capacity. They make it personal to them, so there's not a one-size-fits-all here. But the one document that every new client must be given is basically a timeline layout of what to expect as a new client to the firm. It's a process-driven, laid-out document. Now, you can design this any way you want, but here's the essential idea behind it, and also why it's valuable. But first, you're going to give the new client this document after they verbally commit to work with you. So for those of you, let's say you run a standard 3-appointment process. First meeting, discovery, fact-finding. Second meeting, plan, proposal. And then third meeting is like the, dot the I's, cross the T's, get the signatures, etc. Let's say you run that framework. You will use this document in the second meeting after you get the verbal commit. Now, this document will have multiple steps laid out on it. It will literally be a step-by-step process document. The more visual, the better. But it will lay out to the client what the first, I know some advisors will go 90 days. I know some advisors that will go 6 months, or they'll go 9 months. Or I actually like the idea of going out the full year. What to expect during that first full year. Now, I say that, and I like that one because you're not rushed. There's time for maneuvering if need be with some of these timelines, but ultimately, it's going to start with this. When you get that verbal commitment, you share with them what to expect. Like, this is the process, okay? You got to have this process laid out too. So this is actually a good disclaimer real quick. If you don't yet have any sort of standardized process for what happens when someone becomes a client to your firm, you need to build that. If everyone's a little different because you have no process, maybe you have no help, you're just doing whatever you need to do in that moment, this won't be applicable to you, unfortunately. But for those of you who have any sort of process in general, start by giving them this document. The document will lay out the process itself and all the different stages and things to expect. But the first thing you're going to have them do after they verbally commit, this will be on the back side of it, or maybe it's a double printout kind of thing. You're going to have them sign their name, initial, date, etc. on a document. It's not legally binding. It's really just to get some buy-in from them that they understand what the new client process looks like, and they are agreeing to follow that process with you. Okay, when you if they were to work with more of a large RIA type organization or a wirehouse kind of setup, you're going to have the standardized documents that everyone has to sign to become a client. Banks do it. Edward Jones does it. Morgan's, Merrill Lynch, all these different places, they do it. So you having this, it's standard. They're accustomed to it. It's nothing new. But the document, again, it's a soft agreement from them, not actually legally binding, but it's that they are agreeing to comply with this process, and they will stick with this process. And what that does is it allows you and it provides you an anchor to use should they start dragging their feet early on, should they all of a sudden become non-responsive, Should they become, overbearing, or, they're way too, I don't want to say involved, but they try to ask, way too many questions, try to be way too involved. This is your anchor. This is your hedge. Hey, John. Hey, Sally. When we entered into our agreement, we agreed that this is how it was going to look. We have to stick with this process. It's been proven to work, and it's been proven to be successful. They will likely understand, because you're not doing something totally foreign to them. They're used to it. They're just probably not used to it from their financial advisor. So this process starts with, very simply, beginning the relationship. Advisors will put the words in big lettering, now, N-O-W, the beginning. You're going to lay out, to start this process, this is where, for example, we open our custodian account. Maybe we do all the transfer paperwork. We sign the advisory agreements, the fee-based agreements. We do all that. Notice you're basically, quote unquote, closing up the sale in that second appointment. Okay, that's our goal. We always want to get that. We want to seal the deal in the second appointment. We don't want to drag it out to a third, because that lowers our conversion percentage. And then, call it in 7 to 21 days, we're going to have another meeting, which, again, you can call these meetings whatever you want to call them, but this will be our strategy build-out meeting. This will be when we, finalize any of our income, investment, any of those type strategies. We're going to look at our allocations. We're going to sign any additional investment planning paperwork, or collect any additional fee agreements or whatever. That's where you're going to. It's kind of like your back end hedge meeting. In case you missed anything, or if there's anything in addition to you need, you can plug it in there. And then the third step here is in, let's say, 2 weeks after that, you're going to have what's called, or at least what many will call, an implementation meeting. So this will be when the actual plan that you built out, because you're not showing them the entire plan in the very beginning. You're selling them on the concept, the promise of what you do. But this will be when you actually show them the full breakdown of, here's where this money's going, here's where this money's going, here's the goal of it, here's who to contact for. This is where you're showing them the true build out. Now notice they're already deep in this process. They've paid for stuff, they've done everything, they've signed everything. They're already in. But now you're showing them everything that you're doing. This meeting also allows you to, if they do have any concerns or restraints or whatever, you can address them. And if they want to, back out, that's okay. But again, you just revisit, hey, we signed this document. This is how our process was going to go. Are you okay with this process or not? Because if not, we don't think it'll be a good fit anyways. Okay, no one wants to be told they're not open-minded to the process, or they don't follow through on what they say they will. So it's just, again, it's a way to frame and leverage the whole situation. So then after that, phase 4, and again, you could have 5 phases, you could have 10 phases, you could combine these. I'd recommend kind of drawing them out. But then a month or two after that, so again, we're 3 months into this whole process ever since they verbally committed. So keep that in mind. If they verbally commit in January, at this point, we would be in March, April time. What's up, guys? If you're enjoying all this great content, be sure to check out our other content platforms for more and different types of content all around ways that you can become a better advisor. Things like marketing, sales process development, client experience. Maybe it's managing your team and your advisors better. Whatever it is, be sure to check out our social media profiles. You can find us at Advisor Odyssey across most every single platform that you're likely using. If you're looking for some more in-depth written out articles and blog posts, you can find that both on Medium by searching, again, at Advisor Odyssey, and then also on LinkedIn on my personal page, Daniel Hodajak. It's on these social media platforms where you can send in your questions, your feedback, your thoughts, and then I will then take that, formulate it, and I will try to create, maybe it's an entire podcast episode, another post that's specifically designed to help you answer the question that you are sending in. Again, that can be a direct message, it can be an email. Whatever it is, feel free, ask the question. I'll give you my best insight, and then hopefully it can make a huge difference in your business. Anyways, guys, let's get back to the episode. But now this is where we're getting everything organized, and we're bringing in our outside external pieces. So if we've got an estate plan, if we've got social like Medicare Advantage or health insurance, if we've got life insurance from all over the place, if we like, this is where we're consolidating all this into one specific binder or build out. Okay, whether it's a binder, a planner, a folder, whatever it is, this is where all of that's coming together. You're just putting it all in one piece. Now, what is important to note here, you are not, like, when we're in this phase, when we're putting everything together, you are not changed yet. Like, you have not changed anything yet. They might have a life insurance policy that you're like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't know why you have this. But this is before you actually address that or change that. This is just putting everything in one piece. So all of their financial picture or anything related to their financial picture is in one consolidated portfolio or padfolio or binder, folder, etc. That's our goal, okay? And now, let's say a month or two later, so again, this would be like June time. If we start in January, now we're getting into like May, June. This is where maybe we talk about some of our more like, I guess we'll call it like asset protection stuff. Or maybe like a tax conversation or legacy planning. This is where maybe we dig into things like our prior like tax returns. Where can we find better tax efficiency? We'd like you to meet with either our CPA on staff or maybe you've got a referral source. Okay, this would be where you really, again, if changes need to be made, this is where you make the changes for life insurance. This is where you do all that. If anything's needed for like long-term care, like this is where you work on that. Like if you notice, if a client commits in January to the promise you're making them and the buy into your firm, they're moving everything over to you to begin working with and constructing and crafting in January. 2 to 4 weeks later, 1 to 3 weeks later, same month or maybe February, they're finalizing anything they had missed previously because they've already started. And maybe you're handling a few questions that might come up, etc. But it's kind of an impromptu in addition to meetings. Another couple weeks later, again, we're in March at this time, this is where we finalize everything. The full layout, the full build out. We lock it in. Now, obviously, it can be fluid, it can change, but we lock in the initial build out. So it takes 2 months to give them the true like financial build out. And it's just investments and income planning. Then another 2 months later, we're doing like deliveries, we're doing first statements at this point as well. Like we're digging into a lot of that, but notice we don't talk about the ancillary pieces of the financial planning, the financial portfolio, like life insurance, Medicare, taxes. Like we're not talking about that specifically until they're like 6 months into the relationship. Because the more you talk about those kind of like, again, I say ancillary, not that they're less important because they're not, but as soon as you talk about more like specific topics and like specific plans and whatnot, then you create hurdles for yourself in that sales scenario. An example of that would be you tell a client you're going to talk about, let's say, tax planning. You tell them you're going to talk about tax planning and you're going to address that, and to become a client, you address this, blah, blah, blah. But before you actually move the money and build the portfolio out, you're telling them, we're going to address your taxes, we're going to adjust them, we're going to change how we're allocating this and all that. Like, then all of a sudden, if they've got a really great relationship with their CPA and they trust that CPA, or maybe it was the previous advisor, especially because their tax knowledge, for example, you just created an objection for yourself and a hurdle for yourself. Because now, even though they had full buy-in on your income plan and your investment planning, as soon as you brought in taxes, they associated you at a lesser level than like their previous individual, whether it's CPA advisor or whatever. So now you're competing in an uphill battle, and we don't want to do that. So that's why we push it out. And if they do push back, again, it's part of the process. It's part of your process. They sign the document in that moment. And then again, you can kind of layer these meetings in a month or two later each time. Maybe you've got like I guess we can call it like an advanced planning kind of meeting. That's where it's like a trust work or, maybe like a charitable giving or like real estate discussions. Like you might have a specific niche, like a land stuff. Like, this is where you can talk about that. But it's pushed out. You don't talk about it initially. You push it out as part of your first year. And then about 9 months later, it could be, I guess, 6 months, anywhere from 6 to 9 months later, they should theoretically, that initial plan you gave them, where you had only addressed the financial piece of it, like the income and investment side, but you hadn't yet addressed the ancillary pieces. Now you should be giving them an updated plan that is containing everything, but you've addressed it. So that life insurance policy that doesn't make any sense when you initially gave them their plan, you've now talked to them, addressed it, gotten them a new one maybe, and now it makes more sense and you layer it into their deliverable. Now everything's tied together. And then what a lot of advisors have done as like the last and final thing is they add in a client event. That might be layered in somewhere like earlier in the process, but get your new client to a client event and get their first annual review meeting scheduled. Okay, always get that done ASAP. If it's scheduled, it's more likely to happen. And if you can get them registered for your client event and you can begin kind of hyping that up and advertising it to them, like how much fun it'll be, you're going to further enhance your success and odds of them not only showing up, but really enjoying it and buying into your firm and culture. And then it'll tell you as well, if they have no interest in going to your client events, they don't want to go through like this process, for example, they just want it done and they don't want a true relationship. I mean, maybe that's your thing, but most of the advisors, at least that I work with, that's not the kind of client they want. So that would prevent you from entering into a relationship that wouldn't be healthy long term. One last final tip on this, and you don't have to include this in the document, but it would be helpful at the end of it all. This was an idea shared by another advisor that I work with and have for a while now. But as soon as someone becomes a client, and in our example here, this is as soon as they would sign that like the agreement in the very first step here, so in that second meeting, they are given an updated contact sheet. And that contact sheet has a different phone number on it. It has a different email on it, probably team email. And it has some not really rules, but has some hype language around it, such as, now that you're a client of the firm, here is your VIP phone line to reach someone when you need to. Here's the VIP email address. It's a client's only email address. So it's not getting bombarded. You'll get a quicker response. Create that VIP experience, and if you can layer that into that new client process, it's only going to enhance that. So again, everyone, to wrap this up, that is the one document every new client should be given. A written down, laid out timeline of what to expect during the first, again, 6, 9, I recommend 12 months of the new relationship, the new client relationship. And then getting that buy-in, that signature in the beginning, that yes, they agree to abide by and follow this process. And then it also sets expectations. Thank you guys for listening. As always, it's going to be an amazing 2023. Be on the lookout for some of these social posts coming at you. I'm going to share an example of this at some point as well. And if you guys have any questions over stuff, if there's a specific topic you're curious about, and maybe you don't want to have a conversation about it like over phone or email specifically, but you'd love to hear me talk about it in a general sense, write it in. Shoot us a message on social media. A couple of these episodes we do, actually more than a couple, way more than a couple, are from people who want some guidance on XYZ topic, but they don't want to commit to having a conversation. They don't want to feel like they're being sold anything or anything like that. Okay, this industry is dominated by people wanting to get a sale. We're not one of that. Advisor Odyssey is not one of those organizations or entities. So feel free to write in your question. We'll be happy to help out best we can and share our insight. Take care, guys.
We hope you enjoyed the Advisor Odyssey audio experience. Connect with us on your favorite social media platforms at Advisor Odyssey. You can find our full-length educational videos to watch on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Check out all our articles and publications on medium.com/Advisor Odyssey. The Advisor Odyssey podcast is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The contents and opinions shared, expressed, or otherwise alluded to on the Advisor Odyssey podcast and audio experience are solely ideas and not to be depicted as tax, legal, or investment advice. Results from the use of these concepts may not be representative of the experience of all financial professionals and are no guarantee of future success. Your results may vary. The Advisor Odyssey and its affiliated members are not to be held liable or responsible for any lawful recourse or punishment invoked upon the individual or accompanying business partners or team members. Federal law, state law, and/or insurance carrier requirements may prohibit or place limitations on any of the ideas and activities expressed. All advisors, planners, wholesalers, affiliated reps, and investment advisors should be aware of any limitations imposed by federal regulation, state regulation, insurance carriers, broker-dealers, and registered investment advisors as applicable. Investment advisors are strongly encouraged to obtain pre-approval from the broker-dealer, registered investment advisor, insurance company, or similar institution with which they may be affiliated.